Hey everyone!
Hey, how's it going?
Hello everyone. Welcome to our monthly COGG Let's Play. COGG is the Central Ohio Game Developers Group. We are a group located in Central Ohio dedicated to supporting game developers of all kinds on all kinds of games that they're making and helping you to have the resources and availability and connections that will allow you to excel at whatever kind of projects you're doing, from the hobbyist to the professional. So my name is Caleb Eno, and this is my compatriot.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Scott.
And so today is our regularly scheduled Let's Play. Now, whereas a lot of people do Let's Plays that are just kind of fun or for charities or hanging out and things, the goal and focus on our Let's Plays is we want to create a space where we can, as game developers, sit down, take a look at a game, and understand why a game works, what works about it, what doesn't, and just kind of deconstruct a little bit for everybody's benefit as you all are thinking about your games to benefit in all of the things that you're doing. The way that we do this is we come up with a theme, and then every month we send out a request for games along the lines of the theme from our community. And this time I have to say our theme really struck a spark. We got a ton of people suggesting really fantastic games, and it made it very difficult to pare it down to just four. And those four were then sent out again as a vote, and everybody voted and had the opportunity to vote, and we got all nailed down to one. So the theme for this month is roguelikes. So those games literally that are like Rogue, and we'll get into that a little bit more, actually. And then the game that was chosen was a game that I'm really excited to show you all. It is the game Hades by Supergiant Games, which is a game company that I really highly value, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. However, Scott, do you like history?
I like history, yes.
Yes, I notice in the background there are a couple of historical memorabilia littered around. Yes, I think history is super important. History is super important in every field. In the game industry, there's not a ton of history for us. It's a pretty young industry. Depending on who you ask, it's anywhere from 50 to 70 years old, would you say?
Roundabout, yeah, that sounds about right. I agree.
Yeah. So there was what was the Tennis for Two was sometimes claimed as the very first one, which was a thematical precursor to what eventually became Pong, right?
That's right. Yep.
Right.
On an oscilloscope, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep. Just little lasers and
programming
tiny screen. So there's lots of things in the game industry that we can look at in terms of history, and since we are actually looking at roguelikes today, someone, Cody, tongue-in-cheek suggested we play Rogue as a analysis for roguelikes. Well, I actually think that that's a great idea. We should totally take a look at the history of where the roguelike genre came from, and what's the inspiration here, like what are all of these things pulling on. So we're actually going to go ahead and pull up Rogue here. Well, let's talk about it for a second. So Rogue is an older game. I got almost chastised at one point for calling it an older game, but and it's completely built from the ground up, as most games at the time were. And it was released in mid-1984. Release dates on games then are a little bit trickier because there tended to be a lot more iterations. They were passed around a lot, copied and pasted onto discs and passed around. And speaking of discs of games, Scott,
yes,
I believe you have something to show off.
So yes, back in that corner over there, it's an old Apple II, and back in the day, piracy was a very real thing, and copying games was very easy to do. And people used to get together and have parties in order to copy games and share with each other. And I have here, let me see if I can get that in focus right there. This is a Commodore 64 disc. You can see right there is my old copy of Rogue. So yes, old game that I actually did play at one point.
Yes.
So and I loved, so just to take us back in time, right? Look at the other games that are on here. We've got GoBots and He-Man. I mean, how 80s is that? I mean, that's just very cool. I had to dig that up in my out of my basement. It was great.
Fantastic. I love it. So we're actually going to take a look at Rogue. Now, I would imagine that probably Rogue will not work on most modern computers, is my guess. But there is a fantastic resource out there, which I'll just show you all of you. I'm actually going to show you the whole website here. So this is a part of the Internet Archive. If you're familiar with the Internet Archive, it is a resource of storing old versions of websites, videos, software, etc. It actually was only within the last couple of years that they started doing software, and specifically a big piece that I have really enjoyed is old games. So there's tons of old games on here, that a lot of which are now in public domain. And so they have customized DOSBox setups that allow you to just boot up and play a lot of really old, like super interesting, super important games. So this is Rogue. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at it here. So the first thing we got to do is Rogue's name. So I'm going to just go ahead and use mine. So if you are not familiar, the particular characters that this game's graphics are built out of are called ASCII. ASCII 2, I believe, actually. So they are a set of 256 characters, and they can... A lot of older games were made like this. There was actually a game called ZZT that I played a lot of that was all ASCII art, and that's where I became more familiar with it. But basically, it's just a grid, essentially, a grid of different monospaced characters that are being rendered to the screen that are using the various different icons of ASCII art. Yeah, good note from Raul. No introduction, no nothing. Oh, and it gets even. Well, I guess it does say, "Hello, Kayla. Welcome to the Dungeons of Doom." So
that's it. That's all you get.
You get that at least, you know.
I will say that the game did come in a nice box with a paper manual where you were able to at least read a little bit of something, and also probably very important, probably a cheat sheet card of like a key card on what to press to do what, because there's no mouse here, right? All keyboard.
Right. And I actually made a critical error like 10 minutes ago before we started our stream, because I believe I closed the window where I had my cheat sheet open.
Oh no.
And let me tell you what, like, this is an absolutely confoundingly complicated input system. And I just want to say, the options that are available to the player in terms of things they can do is really quite astounding. You get control at a relatively minute level over what things you can do, like what armor pieces you can wear, your inventory, how you can move. It's really quite fascinating.
Yeah. And a really quick note here. For a designer or developer, this is a good thing to do, to go to classic games like this. At least I like to. And it's never to emulate or to copy, because as you pointed out, it's a very complex input system, and we would never design a game that way today, right?
Right. Yep.
But there is, like you were talking about history, there's a rich history of people who paved the way to try something first, see what stuck and what worked, and that was built over time. And it's good, you know, every craft has this concept of going back and let's take philosophy or psychology, right? You learn how everyone, or every science, you learn how everyone did it wrong, and then you can learn how people did it right. And it's a useful thing to do. And this game's kind of fun too.
It is kind of fun. Yeah, so you'll see kind of what I did there was an object that was sitting there. I picked it up, I do remember a couple of the commands because I was playing it for a little bit. So I gives you your inventory, so you've got all of the different things. And I mean, look at this. This is like full-on D&D style, like +1 mace, +1 short bow. It's got all of this different pieces of information here. I'm wearing a +1 ringmail, armor class 5. And note, you can see how it's like being worn, weapon in hand. When I picked up the mace, it wasn't immediately in my hand. I actually had to go through a couple of steps to wield it. George has a comment here about Q is for quaff, to drink a potion.
Yes, and those paper manuals were always very essential.
Yes. David's point here about those were the in-game tutorial. Like there wasn't an in-game setup or anything like that. You got the manual and that was it. So yeah, Rogue's got a couple things going on here. So it's a randomly generated dungeon. Check one. So you can walk around, and every time you start up the game, there's a new set. This is actually completely different from the one that I was doing when I ran this through first. You got a bunch of stats and things. You can find new objects, like the mace that I found at the very beginning, so you can get new equipment and make yourself better and stronger. There is something in this room. It is a very, very threatening gray S.
Yeah.
Very
so I'm going to
threatening
guess
gray
it's a
S.
snake.
It's probably a snake. Let's find out. You swing and hit the snake.
Snake, yes.
You have defeated the snake. Wow, I don't think
easy.
I've ever defeated a snake that quickly before.
No, it was very easy.
It was a very easy snake. What's this? You found 31 gold pieces. I am rich.
Nice. So yeah, random encounter. So what makes Rogue? Random.
I've run to a kestrel.
Oh, yeah. So they can wander in the halls too. They're not just limited to the rooms that they're in.
It's all step motion too, so nothing moves until you move. So every time that you take a turn, other things. And I was moving too quickly, and I just kind of like blitzed around, and because of that, I didn't see him coming before I ran into him. But the kestrel has injured me.
So, you lost 2 hit points.
Yep. I didn't hit the kestrel. The kestrel barely missed me. I missed. And he scored an excellent hit on me.
Oh, down.
I have missed the kestrel. I've been hit by the kestrel.
Okay, so now
I have defeated the kestrel. All right.
This is Rogue. It's very hard.
So I
mean, we're in the first level, second encounter, and it took half of your hit points.
I didn't hit the snake. Snake injured me. I missed the snake. Oh no. Yeah. Whew. I've defeated the snake. I now have a scroll titled Werg Wundner.
Oh, that's right. And you have no idea what that does until you use it.
I think there is a way to identify the scrolls, though.
Probably.
Actually, what's really interesting is you can also rename scrolls as anything. I didn't know this at first, and I accidentally renamed a scroll to like nothing, and so it was just like a scroll titled, and then it was just a blank string. But I do have some food. That's right. I can, if I remember how to eat. Oh no, maybe I can quaff. Can I quaff? Can I don't have anything to quaff.
Oh, you don't have an. Yeah, you don't have a potion, right?
Nope. Nope. Can't get out. How do I get out of the endless dialogue loop here? Yuck. Why would you want to drink that? All right. I can't drink the food.
So you're traveling through this randomly generated dungeon, right? And you hit something. An emu.
An emu. A random dungeon patrolling emu.
That's hilarious. A dungeon patrolling emu. That's great.
Oh boy.
And you're down hurting. 4 hit points. Yeah, you're down.
I healed.
So you do heal over. I remember seeing that you heal over time. Ooh, and is that another emu?
2 rations of food, an amber potion, and another emu. I
you got the
defeated
emo.
it, and
Okay.
I leveled up.
Okay.
I have leveled up.
Nice.
And so
Oh,
all
now
my
you've got
stats went up.
21 hit points. Nice.
There we go.
So what else is nice about this is, again, what we expect with Rogue. They pave. Ooh, another snake. They pave the way, right? So you found what I think that green flashing light is the stairs down to the next dungeon.
Yes.
You don't have to continue here. If you want to look for more goodies, more potions, more weapons, or something like that, you can keep going, right? And that's very roguelike, what we're familiar with today. You can try to go as far as you can, and I don't think there's a limit to dungeons here. Is there? I can't remember how Rogue works. If there's a limit, or if you just go as far as you can go.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an end game or not. I don't recall. I mean, I don't remember reading about it. Oh, there was just a hallway that went nowhere. So I have to tell you, we're going to kind of like wrap up here with this dungeon, but the what I played last time, which was pretty great, is I found a unidentified piece of armor. I was like, oh man, new armor, great. I put on the armor. The armor was cursed armor with a -3 to armor. So I traded in my +5 for a -3, and because it was cursed, I couldn't take it off. It was off permanently on me.
Old school difficulty.
Yes, old school, like absolutely. Let's see. I don't know how to descend the staircase. Legal command. Legal command. Oh, there it was. That's right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, anyway.
So you just keep going and going and going.
So yeah, it just goes on, and there's plenty of things and new monsters, and oh look, I found the exit to the dungeon. Who knew? But yeah. So that
this was a huge game back in its day, and people would trade this around in colleges and just waste as much time as they can to see how far they can get. Share their experiences on bulletin boards. It was a huge game, and just I am really glad that you brought this up, because oh man, what you're getting hammered.
I am.
Oh no.
They came from behind.
Yep. So on level 2, you got crushed by a kestrel, and what was the eye?
It was an ice monster.
An ice monster. Oh my goodness, ice monster.
Yes.
So
ice
what
monster.
I was saying was, it's good to get an appreciation on an entire genre that was named after and built after this one game.
Yeah,
and if you think about that, that's really weird, right?
Yeah.
What other media has? I'm sure there is. I just can't think off the top of my head. What other media has a genre that is built off of one piece of that media? You know what I mean?
Certainly, like named after one piece.
Exactly.
Of media.
It's completely named after this, right? Exactly. It's roguelike. And it's like, and what did happen was that since this was such a big game, that there were a gazillion copycats. And since this one was so big, when people would trade games around or talk about other games, it's like, what's this game like? Well, it's like Rogue, right? And that's how it was born. And I just you have to have an appreciation for that and where it came from. And fast forwarding to today, where it's a much richer experience.
So we have the primary things here. So we have roguelikes tend to have procedurally or randomly generated dungeons or rooms or areas randomly generated. You have permadeath, so you die, you start all the way over again. Now there's twists on that, obviously, and you can continue to increase your power through the run. So there are lots of ways to like level up or get new armor, new abilities, and it also usually scales in difficulty unless you're playing rogue, in which case it doesn't scale in difficulty; it just gives you the most difficult thing out of the gate.
That's right. Yeah.
So there are a couple things in the chat. Sure, where so there all of the actions you can do in the game correspond to a variety of letters. There's actually lots of key combinations too, so you can use like the function key plus things to like move as far as you can to one direction or another. I was actually using the number keypad, which allows you to up, down, left, right, and then also the corners as well, directional. And then you have like W does one thing, capital W does a different thing. Like lots of the different letters corresponded to a lot of different actions. All right, so that's enough of that. Let's move on to our main show. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Hades, and I'm really, really excited to show this game, mostly because in general I'm excited about pretty much everything that Supergiant Games has ever released, though admittedly I haven't played Pyre. That's one that I missed in there, but
I missed that one too.
So I have played Bastion. We're going to talk about Bastion in a second. I have played some of maybe half of Transistor, and have not played Pyre, and I was really glad that this that today kind of gave me the kick to get Hades and play it, because I love it. It's so much fun. So backstory on why I love Supergiant, and especially why I love Bastion so much. So I went to grad school because I didn't really know what to do with my life, and I was deciding to go to grad school to figure out what to do with my life. Don't recommend grad school, by the way, to figure out what to do with your life. It's a very, very expensive way to figure out what to do with your life. But I was interested in games. I had been interested in games for a long time. I've done a little bit of game dev and like some old programs, EZT, and with like Game Maker, you know, and the old the like RPG Maker. I did some of that back in the day, that kind of a thing. But at that point, when I was like going to grad school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and we ended up having to write in our first semester this paper. It was a analysis paper on some sort of digital media. And so I picked, we just basically had to pick some game, or not a game, sorry, some piece of digital media anywhere across the board and write an analysis paper on how it communicates the story and that kind of thing. The program was digital storytelling, so the focus was on like storytelling in digital media. So I decided to pick a game, and I had actually just started to play the game Bastion. So I went through and I played through all of Bastion, and I ended up writing this paper, and I just fell in love with the process of doing analysis of games. And from that point on, I was like, okay, I'm going to focus everything on my grad studies from here on out on doing game design, focusing on that. And now I'm here. And so Bastion, in a very large way, had a dramatic impact on what I do today. So really excited about that. Yeah, so Hades. So Hades was, oh wow, shoot, I didn't change this. Or actually I did change this, but it's using the same element from the previous one. Oh well, ignore this. So Hades was actually released in September 17th, 2020, I believe, by Supergiant Games. They used their own internal engine that they have built. Actually, I think they built it originally for Bastion and have continued to develop it. Now, what I have heard about that is they have been able to really tightly control performance. And so it's actually, people have reported that it performs really, really well. Now, you can make performance work really well in any engine that you choose to use. But if you have the team who knows how to do really well, you know, fine-tuning, building your engine from the ground up and that kind of a thing. If you have somebody who, like, that's their thing, you can get really fine control over your system, and you can get really good performance out of it, too. So props to them for doing that. And yes, Hades is a roguelike, so we're going to get into it. Anything from you, Scott, on Hades?
No, I think it's a pretty good primer, but I do have to say, so I just played it for the first time 2 days ago or yesterday. So just like you, I jumped into it not too long ago, and I was very impressed. And it is an excellent description of what we were talking about before, taking something that was an old school version of that genre all the way to today. And I was very impressed by how they approached a couple of the issues with roguelikes, we really didn't talk about. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but roguelikes do have some issues. And I think they tackled that very well, and I was really impressed with it. And it's a super fun game too. I also really like Greek mythology, so it just fits.
Yes, and there's lots of that.
And their take on Greek mythology is it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. Scott, just real quick check on, is that streaming to you correctly?
Yes. Thank you for doing that.
Great. Awesome. Alrighty. Let's see. If I do this, we should be able to see it. Aha! There it is. And if I do this, we should be able to hear it. All right. It's quiet right now, so we'll get into it. Let's start a new game, because new games are the way to be. And we don't need to do it in hell mode.
And yes, to Raul, the music in Hades rocks. It really is really good. Audio check on the game, Caleb.
Is it working?
Don't think so. I'm not hearing it through YouTube.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yep. Okay. Always something, right? Let's see. Okay, good. That's good. Okay. And
If I know some of you do know, but if you only knew the variables that Caleb has to go through to get this working, it's just amazing. It's very impressive.
It's a lot. Let's see here.
Quiet as a tomb on the 50th floor of Hades.
Oh, man. Okay. So, oh, wait. That's why. There it is. Y'all should hear it now. Let's do a test.
I hear it now. Excellent. Nice job.
Okay. Yep. One tiny variable. That's all it takes. Okay, you know what? I think y'all deserve to see that again.
Because the voice acting is also really good in this game, too.
Yes, let's do this again. Oh, yeah. It's the guy from Bastion who reads this line.
Of Hades, whose very name inspires fear and penitence, reminding us of the inevitable fate which we all share. I, however, mean to tell you such a tale. Listen carefully.
Goodbye, Father.
All right. So, we like to talk about the opening of the game. So we got one screen, one piece of dialogue, right? And then we had game, right? Like it just was there. We're here.
In medias res.
Yes.
In the middle of action.
Something has happened. This character has said, "Goodbye, Father," and to hell with this place, which is actually kind of hilarious. And also really interesting. There, if you aren't like familiar with any games ever, if you've never touched a controller before, there's nothing on screen. There's no communication about what buttons to push, which things to do, which I think is a really, really interesting choice. Now, I have my controller here, so we're gonna go ahead and play with a couple buttons. And oh, okay, we got movement, and actually really, really responsive movement. The movement in this is super, super tight. So we can run around. There's like ghosty people and hands sticking out of everything. Move forward. There's some urns. And then there's an ending here. Now, oh, I do see one thing. Okay, I'm going to make a slight adjustment to where our heads are. Oops, that's not our heads. There we go.
Much better.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, accidental sword usage. Okay, look, there's a sword. Yes, okay, so we have our character who has a sword, and so that's when I push the X button. And then if I push the A button, we have a dash. And if I push the B button, there is a targeting reticle and a thing that flies out, which you can then go back and collect. The astute observer here is going to notice that in the bottom, there is what is probably a health bar, and then a little diamond thing looks very, very similar, almost identical, one would say, to the diamond thing that we just shot and can pick up. And when we pick it up, it goes to 1. We're just letting the game teach itself to us. And we do have 4 things along the left side here that seem to indicate a couple of things. There's like a cross swords, there's a pointed up sword, there's a little twirly thing, and then there's something that looks like a person running quickly. So just at a glance, with just looking at the abilities that we have, there's a kind of a connection between, we have these 4 things, we have 4 abilities so far that the player has access to. Yeah, but all of that is just based off of what you, the player, can figure out, which, frankly, is not what I would normally think of doing or offer to the player to do. I would usually give them like some buttons, something. But I think it actually kind of works here because it is, as you said, in media res. It's dropping you right into the action. There's no sense of it being a tutorial. And so you're just here, and you can, good luck, figure it out. Which, frankly, was how games have been for a long time in many ways.
But I'd like to mention that it's also not typical of a roguelike. That you usually don't get the intro room to play with your controls like this.
I have this thing where every time I walk through this room, I always break the 4 pillars.
I know. Which, that's also a good game design, too. They gave you a couple things to play with that are very satisfying to do so, right? It's fun to break things.
Yes, it's fun to break things. It makes a nice shattering sound, the urns.
And those also do have a strategy to them. They are useful later on in the game, but it shows you now a little bit like a sneak peek of what can be done later. And that's the boulders that fall down.
Yeah. Now, something that my wife and I were talking about last night when we were playing it is that this is the underworld, right? It's kind of dark and creepy and that kind of thing. The colors here are absolutely vibrant. It is bright reds, bright greens. Like, there's this purple line here. There is nothing dim or muted about this. I guess there's like some grays and stuff, but there's so much just visual brightness to this. It's really, really well, like, artistically speaking, which is very much in line with Supergiant's style.
It is, yep.
I'll go ahead and proceed here. That we did get a button suggestion for. So we'll walk into a room and oh my gosh,
Try and stop me.
there's this big guy. I was trying to see if it would, like, if I didn't attack it, if it would give me a button prompt or anything, but it doesn't. It's really just
it doesn't.
letting you
figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
And this first, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but this first run is intended for you to die.
Yes.
It's completely intended for you to die. So if you don't know what you're doing, it's okay. This is your safe space. I'm sure you can go as far as you want, right? You can keep going, but it is intended for you to die.
Yep, okay. They gave you 1, and now they give you 2. I'm intentionally kind of just, like, giving you a chance to play around and look at them here. They are far less frightening when there isn't, like, 20 other bad guys in the room with you.
But they're just intimidating at the very first time you see them.
Oh, yeah.
Giant guy with a club, oh no.
Absolutely. Oh, and that is interesting. So they give you the big guys, and then they switch it up and give you a couple of these ranged characters.
The witches.
You're nothing.
there's some more. Now
Oh,
put
they
them
mixed
together.
it together. Okay, that's great. Gradual introduction. So you got the big guy by themselves, 2 big guys, and now the range characters, and then you got a mix of the big guys and the range characters. Well done.
It took me forever to realize that those guys have a bounce back when you hit them,
Right.
or
right.
a break in their animation. That it took me forever to realize that you could utilize that, right? You can pummel them if they won't hit you back.
Yeah. Now this has been really interesting too. Is like this crystal thing that you can throw. It took me quite a while to figure out exactly like how to control it well and do stuff with it, but
There she
it
is.
kind of gets lodged in an enemy, and then until you defeat that enemy or a certain point of time has passed, it'll stay stuck. So you have to be a little bit more strategic about how you use those. Yes, the boulders falling do damage your opponents, so it actually can be a good trick to get enemies to be around you while you hit the pillars, and those rocks will fall down and do damage to them. It's actually it's a necessary strategy later on. So this glowy thing, which I didn't pick up on this for a long time either, but this symbol was actually on the door when we first came into the room. And it took me a long time to figure out that the door was actually telling you what reward you would get once you completed the room.
Yep.
I didn't start getting that until there were more than one room, and you had to like start picking
Same
through
here.
them. But
Same here, and it also takes a while to recognize the symbol on what you're
Right.
going to get.
Yep.
And I love how they did that. It was very smart.
It's got to be her. Then here goes nothing. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
I do want to say I really appreciate the direction for the voice acting. It would be super easy for this to be like and like super intense and everything. That everybody in this game is really soft spoken, except for maybe a couple of standouts. And I love that. I think it's a really excellent voice acting direction, because so much of this game is like hyped and like fast and very quick and responsive and twitchy, and the voices are just like calm and sure of themselves. And I don't know, I think it's a really nice contrasting aesthetic in the voice acting.
And very human too. Good job
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Hail, noble
Well.
cousin. Now, let's get you from that miserable place. I'll see that all of us upon Olympus do our part, beginning here with me.
Okay, and so they start throwing this at you, and boy, at this point, you really have no idea what the significance of most of this stuff is.
No clue. I was lost.
And so you're just kind of like, well, I've got 3 things to pick here. Now, to their credit, they actually have these nice little descriptors on the side, which even at this point, if this is the first time you've played this and you haven't ever done anything like this before, it's probably still not going to help you out all that much. But as you start picking up on things, it does begin to give you some clue as to what's going on and how you actually can make intelligent decisions here. I'm not going to go through and explain it all right now, but I will say of these, what would I pick? Probably the first one. First one's a good one.
I know you can't hear me all the way where you are, goddess, but thank you.
Yeah, but essentially what you're able to do is you're able to attach power-ups to the 4 abilities so that you have. So you can see in the top there is a new kind of glowy attachment to the sword action. So that, and actually I think it alters the animation a bit too as
Yes.
well. Some of them more than others. But yeah, so we got a linear progression here, 1 more door. There's this thing on the door. We have learned that is the reward that you will get for completing the room. And I think there's a really nice progression here. So you've got the power up from the first room, this room, which also introduces a couple of different enemies. And I think all of this is scripted too. Like I don't think there's any randomness for the first run through. I kind of want to go back and double check, but I think that they script the encounters for this first set.
They might. I was
do?
trying to remember if I got the skull guys on my first run or not. I couldn't remember.
They do introduce to you something else here, which is the trap system. So these guys right here are spike traps. And so if you walk over them, they will jabby jab stab you. Which I do way more frequently than I'd like to admit.
I know, I do too. They're not as easy to see as you think.
And even if you know they're there, you're like, you still do it anyway. You can see it when if I dash over it.
And they're punishing as well.
Yes, they are.
We're very roguelike. They're very punishing.
So much for them.
All right.
He has these great one-liners whenever you finish a room. We just gotta like, so much for them. It's like, you just fought this like glorious battle of like destruction, and so much for them. I love that contrast again. Right. All right, so I got 10 glowy things that I don't know what they're for or what they do.
But now you've got a choice.
Okay, so I'm going to have to go back on what I said before. I think there is actually still the randomness at play here, because these doors, I definitely did not get these 2 doors, because I didn't encounter these 2 for quite a while. So that's really interesting. There is absolutely still randomness at play here. Let's go with this one.
Artemis. Oops, sorry.
You've spoiled this, God. What have you done? Oh yeah, and so these are some more environmental hazards. You hit these things, then they'll explode in a little radius. So lots of things to dodge and avoid, like environmental things, which,
yes,
honestly, I love. Like, I think it really adds a whole layer of nuance and variety. And there's they do a lot with terrain and stuff later on too. Didn't quite clear it.
So you do have, while you're going through here, you do have a couple, there's waves to each room. And right there, I wanted to point that out. I really like how when you're done with all the waves, like sometimes rooms are a little bit bigger and you don't know if you've completed everything, but there's this slow down in time when you do complete it before you get your reward for clearing the room.
Makes it very clear that you're done.
Nice tell, yeah,
exactly. That's really good.
So we got a new symbol here before I ruined it.
Heavenly archer I know of. Well, several really. Anyway, in the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
And as a new player, you have no idea what's going on.
I'm not like all the others on Olympus. The power of the hunt helps keep me company, so maybe it'll help you too.
I love that version of Artemis, by the way.
Yes.
Their version of Artemis, I love. That's great.
Go with that.
The power of the hunt sounds like good company to keep.
I tell you what.
Can't heal myself. But
yes, that is a good thing that they actually tell you, is that there's not out of the gate any way for you to heal yourself. There are ways to heal yourself, but it's pretty rare. Your health is a really rare commodity resource. There are absolutely things that they allow you to do and unlock to allow yourself to have better access to it, but goodness, like, your health is really precious. Now, I will say it. So their combos are a thing in here. So you can do a dash, and then you can do a dash that ends with a cut, which is different than just doing a regular cut. And actually, just the ability that I just got adds additional power to that dash cut. I have to see. I made my last run that I did was a 35 room run, and the room that I died in, I was pretty much just like mashing buttons. Like, there was almost no strategy to it. I was just like, hit everything. My head was so tired after that.
That panic mode.
Yes.
Louds.
These are my least favorite guys. I hate these guys.
They pack a punch. I don't like these guys.
Oh, there it was.
But again, when you do hit them and they're not shielded, we'll get to it later.
Oh, and that was almost the end of me.
it seemed like when you pin that guy against the wall, he couldn't do anything. So there is strategy here that you can do.
Yes, absolutely.
Rather than just button mash. But those guys do.
There's
really
absolutely
hurt.
a strategy.
Whoa! Oh, nice miss. That was a good move.
Thank you.
Dodge, I should say.
A gift.
Nice.
Oh boy, I just walked away with 3 HP.
And we got
This
these
is the first run, and I need to die eventually. It's important. We can't show the rest of the game if we don't.
That's very true. So we got more of these purple heart-shaped or teardrop-shaped things. We have no idea what they are at this point.
No idea what they are. Also, we all have these little coin-shaped things. Also, no idea what these do. And between these two, let's go with this one. It's okay. I'm probably not going to make it to the next room anyway.
That's right, yeah. That would be the one to choose in your situation.
No.
Ooh, did you get... Oh, I think that missed. That was close. You're doing a good job.
And...
Oh, gotcha. Now, you think that would be game over, start again, right? Which, in a sense, it is. But
It is. But also...
Damn it.
Yes.
I'm
This.
home.
And I love that line, I'm home.
Yes, carry on, everyone. Don't mind me.
Oh, this is good.
Like,
Okay.
nothing happened. It's normal.
Mm-hmm.
Happens every day. And I think that's a great way to introduce the player. I mean, most players know what a roguelike is, and they know what the point is, but I think that's a great subtle introduction that this is normal. This is going to happen again and again. It doesn't seem to phase the player, right? The character. This is something he's been doing. It's fine.
Well, I think actually, canonically speaking, this is the first time he's done this.
I think it might be.
Yeah, I think this is that was his first try, and so he was a little surprised that he ended up back home. I missed these the first time through. These are little like
I did
bobble
too.
things that you can
And they're
listen
great.
to.
Goes the shades.
Wait a second.
Infection?
What was that thing that popped up?
Oh, the little little word bubble.
I'm up.
Yeah, that.
So I didn't notice that until a few times in. Also, every once in a while, there'll be a group of shades discussing how they perished.
Oh.
And it'll give you like a little tagline or like a one-liner that says, "Oh, I didn't read that one said what that said, but
I didn't catch
like
it.
I shouldn't have eaten that bad apple or pomegranate or something like that."
Well, there you go.
And it says like died of food poisoning or something.
Okay, so I've actually completely missed that because there's also a little gold one that will have the narrator voice something.
Yes.
As well. That's what I thought that was supposed to be, but it wasn't. It was this other thing. Okay, that's really nice. It's a nice little
fun.
narrative touch. All right, so this is well. I think this is well structured. You come out of this thing. You just went through this whole thing. You're like, okay, now what am I doing? Are there going to be bad guys in here? And you walk up here, and this guy wakes up, makes a noise, and a little icon appears above his head saying, "Hey, over here." So if you walk over to him, you get the talk dialogue.
Welcome to the House of Hades, where... Wait, I know you. Guess that means you died out there, huh? Well, don't be sad, though. Pretty much everybody dies sometime.
Helps give that context.
Yep.
Some of us more than others.
That's
And
a wink and a nudge. Some of us more than others.
And we walk up, and here's the man himself.
There he is.
Let's talk.
Absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
Stupid boy. I told you nobody gets out of here, whether alive or dead. So how was your wanton ransacking of my domain?
Greetings, Father. My ransacking was a delight, thank you for asking. So I'll just be on my way again.
Be on your way indeed. What do I care? You shall never reach the surface. Go, see for yourself.
We just had a note from Jason that voice is Greg Cassavins. Am I saying that right? And Jason worked with him. This is pretty cool.
That is great.
Oh, Hypnos, that is. He says, okay, the guy at the entrance.
Ah, gotcha.
What is it now? I've a mountain of infernal parchment work.
The usage of the adjective infernal here, it just gets me. Because it's literally infernal paperwork.
And it's parchment work too. It's just, the writing is top notch.
It's really good.
Great.
I mean,
And
I fully expect that.
I know, and the fact that he is forever burdened with paperwork as the King of Hades, it's great.
Well, it's Hades, king of the underworld.
That's right.
Okay, so we can talk to the dog.
Infernal watchdog Cerberus regards the underworld prince with mixed emotions, from purest joy to deepest melancholy.
You watch over things for me, won't you, boy? You know I'd take you if I could.
And as you noted when we were talking yesterday, you can, in fact, pet the dog.
There's a good boy.
Cease bothering the dog.
Cerberus is such a good boy.
He's such a good boy. He only likes one head to be pet, though.
That's right, he does.
And actually, you can actually walk over here, and you can do this.
Not everybody knows exactly how to give you pets.
He'll go to that one.
Tell a bit,
Yep.
boy.
And I don't know if you noticed that one of his dialogues says, "You only like it when I scratch this
Exactly.
head, don't you?"
I was hoping he was going to say that when I did that. Yeah.
I also love the bowl of bones.
Yeah, bowl of bones. See, being able to pet the dog makes the game just so much better.
It is. It does.
That's like a classic, you can't pet the dog, like game criticism. Let's see, other characters that we can introduce here briefly.
You've returned.
Got
Good to see you, lad.
Achilles.
Despite the circumstances, remember your training out there. The pain of death is but another obstacle.
Death is but a moment. Cowardice is a lifetime of suffering.
And fear is for the weak.
Something he would
Take
say.
care, Achilles.
Was actually
So-
stolen from a movie called The Trip. Anyway, go on.
So what I like about this is the timeline in Greek mythology that we have a snapshot of, right? So when you hear about
The House
Achilles,
of
he
Hades,
is a
that dark and
immortal
lavishly
warrior,
appointed lair
right?
Of the underworld's king.
And
So
in
not
this
just to him,
point in
but
time,
to his willful progeny.
at this point in time,
I can hear
it's
you, Obi.
after all of his exploits, right? He's dead. It's after his story has been done and completed. And later on, Medusa is the same way.
Yes.
It's great.
You have come home.
All right, another important
Do
character.
not despair, child. Such setbacks are inevitable and may be overcome with effort and with time. You made contact with the goddess Athena. She shall be true to her word.
I believe it, Nyx. I'm grateful that you put us into contact. I know you took a considerable risk in reaching out.
The risk is not to me. I expected the Olympians would involve themselves in this eventually. Reveal to them no more than they already know. Are we understood?
Yes, we are.
Then go.
So the thing that I'm convinced about is there is something going on here that we're not privy to. Utterly convinced about it.
Yes, which I think it's a great way to write a story. You're introduced with some things that are confusing. You've been thrown in this hub.
Hey, Room.
You've been introduced things that are pretty confusing, but are just intriguing enough that you want to know more. Like, really, we did a bunch of things there. We have no idea what it really means.
Perpetual state of utter disarray, despite his lord and master of the house repeatedly insisting that he pick everything up.
This is kind of, I love this about the narrative is the relationship between Hades and Zagreus is that it's very much Zagreus is like probably a 16, 17, 18-year-old. You know, he's got that teenager, young adult vibe going. He's got that like independent streak of wanting to be his own person and do his own thing. And his father is the overbearing like father figure who's always like writing him about everything. And I just, it's such a great like human relationship dichotomy between the two of them. And it completely, well, and I think this is the point I wanted to make, is that the relationship between him and his father and the reason he's trying to leave completely sells the whole idea behind the permadeath and the respawning and everything. Because like in the game Rogue, right, in a lot of roguelikes, you just restart. You just magically begin again. But there's this continual narrative thread here of he goes out, he tries to escape, he dies, he comes back, and then he like banters with his father about how his father is upset that he's trying to do this and whatever, and then he goes and he tries to do it again, and there's this nice cycle of relationship back and forth. And you know, it's one of those things where there's a progression system under the hood that allows you to get stronger every run, which we'll look at here in a minute. But there's also a narrative progression that allows you to progress the narrative after every run as well. So it almost makes it not feel like it's a reset and try again game. It makes it a continuous narrative thread, which I really like.
I think they excelled at that. That's one of the things I really noticed about this game is that a lot of, we mentioned earlier that roguelikes can have a negative aspect to them, that you just continually do the same thing over and over and over again. And I think you can just envision the design team sitting down and says, okay, we want to do a roguelike. How do we conquer some of these negative things? And that storytelling element that each time you die, you get an additional piece of that story is fantastic, because it feels, we might not be conveying it here, but once you're playing it, it feels fresh every time. And it's incredible. And the story does progress pretty wildly at the more and more you die. They did a really, really good job with that. And that's one thing that I wanted to point out with this game is like, there's some challenges that they overcame very, very interestingly and very well.
Yeah. To Raoul's point about the bear, hey, bears die too, right, Raoul? So they end up in the other world just like anybody else does.
Good point.
Yeah, well, here's our so this is our progression system. So this is the mechanical system within the game that allows you to encourage yourself to get farther by giving yourself additional boosts that last permanently. So there has been a trend with more modern roguelikes to give you this kind of a system where it's not just a completely raw, fresh start over every time, but that you can actually build upon it. One that comes to mind is one called Rogue Legacy, which actually had this idea that every time you were going you were a descendant of the previous run, and then each descendant inherited the manor of the family, and you could continually make the manor better, and that would increase the power of your base character each time. A lot of them will do different kind of conceits like this, and so in this case it's our Mirror of Night, and now we actually see a use for those purpley gem things, and you can spend those here to get further upgrades going forward. By far the one that I think is the best is this one. It's basically you get to 0 health points and it restores you back up to 50% of your health. And I mean, this is like hugely critical, very, very important. So I'm actually going to just leave this here. I don't want to buy anything yet. I'm going to save up. But yeah. Oh my gosh, I totally just saw something I've never seen before. There's a symbol of the key right in the middle there. I'll bet you can unlock more power-ups. But I missed that.
You did. Go down.
I completely missed that. Wow. Okay, yeah, I completely missed that. Oh well. Jason, quite literally a lifesaver. Perfect.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, wow, I can't believe it. Well, the reason I missed that is because of this room.
That's right. There are other ways to spend your
keys
and other things that you get too. There's
Yeah.
other ways to spend those.
There's actually a series of weapons that you can unlock. The Aegis is my favorite. Hug Aegis. It's my favorite. Or is it Aegis? Is that the better way to say it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, for the moment, we just have our store.
And they're all straight out of Greek mythology too.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, when you get it, you actually get a conversation with Achilles because, or was it Achilles? No. Zeus.
No.
Zeus, I think,
Yeah, I think so.
makes a comment about it if you have it when you talk to Zeus.
Yeah, go over there.
This is really neat. I love this.
I can do this. First get past the wretched shades of Tartarus. Easier said than done. And doubtless I'll be running into Meg. The River of Flame ought to be just beyond. Find a way up to Elysium from there, and after that... Alright, let's give it another shot.
A little
From
foreshadowing.
the courtyard back there.
Yeah, so this will tell you how many chambers you've gone through. Which, hey, actually, I think the very first one that I ever did in my other game was only 5-chamber run. So, hey, I
Nice.
got 2 more chambers. That's neat.
You're improving.
I'm improving, yeah.
The animation here is fantastic. All the shades that are coming in and out of Tartarus is great.
What's funny is those look like they might be some kind of particle effect. Like they may actually be,
Maybe.
you know, like those YouTube videos that are still image, but then they add like wave effects and like part. And that's kind of what it feels like. There's
done,
also
you're
this whole panorama is in layers. So as you move, there's a parallax. You'll see as the buildings shift.
I did not notice that.
There's
Nice.
lots of layers there, so the whole thing gets a nice parallax effect. Also, fun fact, I know we have some audiophiles who are part of our community who, some of you actually make music for video games. There's one individual in particular who has given a talk about Fmod, which is a utility for writing music and integrating it systematically into your game. I was digging through the files for this game, and I discovered that they were using Fmod for this.
Oh, really? That's neat.
That's really cool. Yep, so there's not tons that you can do once you get back from your first run, which I think is good. Like, they give you the balance of you mostly get to introduce to the characters and the set up the plot of everything, and then you can jump out the window to escape.
Ready as I'll ever be.
And this looks familiar.
Thunder. Is that...
Now, this is scripted. And actually, what I can tell you is that what was scripted from the first run is you always run into it's Artemis, right? No. Yeah?
No, that was Athena.
Athena,
I do
that's it.
believe.
You
I think
always
that
run
was
into
Athena.
Athena first. That's the first conversation you have. And this is also scripted. This is the same each time.
Is this really him? Okay. In the name of Hades, Olympus, I accept this message.
Also, side note, he's got Cerberus statues on his shoulder there.
Yes. Nice.
Greetings there, young man. Look, your father's always been rather difficult, and he's not so much as called in quite some time. You'll have a better home where you belong, here on Olympus. And to help you on your journey, have my blessing.
All right.
Now, you might, as a first-time player, you might start picking up on what's going on here, which is a nice progression.
Yep.
Ooh, and you got an epic one.
Yeah,
too.
so when I first learned, like when I first got these, I actually didn't realize that there were tiers of abilities that could be granted to you. So I think when I was given this choice before, I didn't even like see the epic thing. I just picked one of the other ones. And it wasn't until later I was like, oh yeah, that was the purple one. I missed that. So I'm just going to, out of principle, pick the epic one to start with.
Yep.
Lord Uncle Zeus
Who
lending
wouldn't
his
at that
support.
point?
Right.
Never thought I'd see
I think
today.
there's a couple different ways that you can tackle a roguelike, right? You can go more of like the loot route. Go like Diablo, where you constantly get different weapons and something better and something better. Here, you're stuck with your one weapon throughout the entirety of your run, but you can add power-ups to that weapon.
Note that there are enemies in the first room this time.
That's right, there are. To test what you just got.
Sorry, go on.
I don't think there is a way to remove only after you get to a certain checkpoint, or not checkpoint. After you get to a certain point, you can't really remove those. So it is important to choose carefully. Right now, at this point in the game, it doesn't really matter. But it adds a complexity, something that you can think about, a strategy.
The underworld of Lord Hades all but guarantees the dead shall there remain until the end of time.
And so this is the excuse, narratively speaking, for why the rooms are always different every time.
Good thing I'm not dead.
Oh yeah, Raul, good point that there is no loading from room to room. It's a very smooth transition. And that's to the point about what I had mentioned before, is the performance on this is really remarkable. I mean, like, I didn't have any issues.
A little more challenging.
I got him with the exploding thingy.
Nice.
Oh, that eye blinks. I don't think I've ever noticed that before.
I never noticed that either. So this is the first key you've come across, right?
Yes, this is the first key.
Yeah. I wonder if the first run doesn't have any keys.
I didn't notice any, and I don't remember there being any on my first run either.
I don't think so either. But here's another way to unlock something. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Also, you can't go through the door. It's locked until you get the key. So it ensures that you do get the rewards.
So I wanted to know. I was too chicken to try it, but I wanted to know that you've got a couple things you can throw in this game. You've got your cast ability, right?
Right.
You can throw that gem, and it will stay there. You can also throw. There's a spear. I can't remember what the spear is, but you can throw that too and walk away. Can you leave the room?
Without it? I bet. Okay, let's test it out. Let's find out. Yeah, it auto collects.
Oh,
I figured
it went to you. Okay.
I figured it had to do that. There's
I figured
no
it had to. Yeah. There's the ag. I agree.
Oh, that hurt. Spiky, spiky.
A palm of power.
Ooh.
Now this makes so much sense in terms of Greek mythology, the pomegranate being like a power up.
Power of Olympus.
Yes, it does.
Was what Persephone, I think, who ate the pomegranate?
Yep.
Was that
7 pomegranate seeds?
Oh yeah, okay. So this is the other thing too, and again another thing that took me a little bit to kind of get used to and figure out what was going on. But so you get power ups from the different gods and goddesses, and then you can get Palm of Power, which will then level up that, so it will increase the effect of whatever that was. So it's just another tier of which you can customize and power up your character. Let's see, there was a question. Oh, wow, yeah, that's interesting in terms of like the performance for loading the room. I'll bet you they probably preload the room possibilities. So like when you're in a room, they're loading the next possible rooms, so that when you go, they're already there. They can just load it automatically, and then once you're there, it preloads the next ones. I'm guessing.
Yeah. If nothing else, in at least the combinations that you can go through in data. If nothing else.
Yeah. Yep. Do the enemies get stronger more quickly each time you reset? I think the enemies are still gradual increase in difficulty as you go through rooms. So it's how many rooms you have gone through that increases the difficulty, not how many times you've reset the game.
They must have lots of these upon Olympus.
I'm looking for the other thing. I haven't seen.
And I also think Jason is spot on. It's not the data involved in this game is not that big. So I bet it doesn't take much to load.
Oh yeah, here's a pressure point. Pressure pad.
Oh yes.
And there's one in the middle.
More
here.
traps, more traps. Oh, the first time I came across that one in the middle, that decimated me.
Yeah. Yep. I've definitely been hit by that before. Ooh.
The underworld's power.
Nicely done.
These are a little bit easier right now.
The first time, hey, that's not fair. The first time I came across this room, it was witches that like hung out in the middle there.
That would have very drastically changed the game. Yes. No, you are. I'm sorry. I've got too much Legend of Zelda time to not break all.
I know.
Cards.
You just want to be Link.
Oh, hi, Shield. Welcome. Oh, that worked out really well, having that right next to that
That
pillar.
was great.
That was
So,
perfect.
I can't remember who asked that, but that was a great example of that.
Those things hit like a hammer, too. Wow. The rocks falling from the ceiling. It was like 80
Coin
each.
from the dead. Should fetch me
Ooh,
something.
that was 100 coins. Nice.
Oh, okay.
What are coins for?
Yes. What are coins for? We haven't figured that one out. So this one will give us our purple things.
That's right. And then that. And
This
that
one-
that had to have been scripted that you had a coin cache before this.
That's interesting. I'm not sure. It could be like a percentage chance thing. But
Could be.
what I will say is that it took me way, way, way too long to figure out what that bag icon meant.
Me too.
I thought it was just like, oh, a bag of gold? Yeah, let's get a bag of gold. And I like went through at least two of these doors before I figured out. But that's because I was still even trying to figure out that what you went through the door led to what you got as a reward at the end. And it's a little
Yep.
embarrassing how long it took me to figure that out. But
No, don't worry, it took me a long time too, and I think that's intended. This is also my favorite conversation dialogue in the entire game.
I love this guy.
Why, good to see you, Charon, mate. Just minding my own business, taking in the sights, and hey, what's that you got? Some sort of wares for sale? And I'll just have a look around.
He's like not nervous against any character in the game except for this one.
And he never says anything to you.
He doesn't say a word. He
groans.
just
No matter what you tell him.
As of the Stygian boatman Charon lies sprawled about, available for sale to whomever would be willing to quench the boatman's great thirst for riches.
That would be me.
Yep. So you get a set of 3 options to choose from. This is a... Oh, it's a euro and fries!
I know, isn't that great?
Euro and fries! Oh my gosh.
I love how it's like in like a McDonald's container too.
Yes. Okay, that's great. So that heals you for 20. This is this increases your maximum by 25, and this is a lightning bolt upgrade, which I can't afford. So go with that.
There you go.
Oh, look, and there's a lightning bolt upgrade. Now, this is also a detail that I missed too many times before I realized it. The orb is glowing more brightly, and there's a little skull with an arrow next to it.
Right.
This is a door that leads to a boss. In this case, it's a mini boss. It's one of the minor things, but I just did not see that again for too long. It took me just too long to pay attention to what was going on with the doors.
Well, no, I think this game does this very well, where there's no way for you to know it. There's no hand-holding. You have to discover and own it as a player to figure it out.
Which,
And-
honestly... Sorry, I'm busy. you keep talking.
Which I really appreciate when it's done well in a game, and I think they do it well. However, they could have done it a little softer. In this game, the first time I played it, I really did feel lost as to which, oh my gosh, you just barely made it, as to which door to choose from. And I was approaching it very strongly as a roguelike, knowing that my choices matter, and they matter very hard, right? If I need some life, I need to go to a certain path to get more life. Or if I need a specific power-up, I take, a player like me, and I'm sure there's lots of other players, that's cool, that do the same thing, that choice really matters. And I was very frustrated not knowing what choices to make. I wish they did a little bit better job on that, but that's something very minor.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. So what I was going to say earlier is that I so much am like a fan of making sure that we're teaching our players how to play our games, and that's really important. But there is also the other side, which is hand-holding to the point of like being obnoxious.
That's right. Yes. There's the balance.
There's that classic video that does an analysis of Mega Man X's level design, and it's like
back at home.
It patronizingly is like, games these days they teach you by going Mega Man, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay, there's definitely a degree of which that is true. Like, you want to be careful about. We can restore life. Let's restore life. Good. You can absolutely be just like, stop all of the action, throw it in their faces, click this thing, do this thing. Like, you are a baby and you need to be told exactly what to do in order to understand. And there's that side, and then there's the other side, which is we are going to bury all of the instructions on how to play this game in a massive navigatable menu of tabs and things that you have to read for days. That's another approach. Not always great. This game is absolutely leaning on we're just going to let you kind of figure it out side of things.
That's right. One thing I think they do nicely is when they introduce you to something, or you do have to figure something out, the punishment for not knowing and the punishment for experimenting isn't that harsh.
Right.
Like, I was describing that I really wanted to know how to craft my roguelike experience by choosing the correct door. But at that moment in time when I was first learning it, it didn't matter that much.
Right.
And it didn't take me that long to figure out that it didn't really matter. I like Jason's comment. I don't think that item shops are part of the roguelike experience. Roguelike definitions, or is part of the roguelike definition, but they seem to be a common ingredient. Yes, they do. I completely agree. How important are they to this genre?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, so to the genre itself, I think it comes down to some of the things that we talked about before, random generation and permadeath, right? But there's a lot of aspects in the modern creations that try to make it much more interesting and a little more palatable to non-hardcore roguelike players.
Right. Well, and you do have like there's the dichotomy, right, of the original rogue, we start over and you are like ground zero again. Like, you have carryover nothing.
Right.
And then you have this idea of having some things that you can actually carry over, and you can create some kind of greater progression system for. And shops have turned into that non-permanent system that a lot of roguelikes have fallen onto in terms of just creating the system that you can progress within the run. Because in this game, like, you have the coins, and the coins, they don't stay with you. They go away as soon as you die, which that's really pretty consistent with how a lot of these runs work.
Yep, it totally is. Game Maker's Toolkit has a great video on describing the components that go into a roguelike. I suggest everyone to check it out if they haven't seen it. And I like how he breaks down two different types of roguelikes, between ones that are very strict to the permadeath formula and not much else. You're not gonna make it.
Nope, I'm almost gone.
To stick to that formula of permadeath and random generation and pretty much nothing else, and then something that mixes other genres like this game, and
Oh my gosh.
and he calls them, I really like his term for it. He calls them roguelite.
Yes, roguelike.
I think it's a fantastic term.
Waves.
And I don't think that's a despairing term.
Good question on whether Rogue had shops or not. I don't know, actually. I'm uncertain about that.
It's Uncle Number
It does
2.
not.
It's got to be.
It is strictly,
Then,
you just
in
try
the
to get
name
as
of
far as you
Hades,
can.
Olympus, I accept this message.
Nothing carrying over.
Ahoy there, little Hades. You recognize your uncle, do you not? We've a lot of catching up to do, but first things first. You get yourself out of that dour underworld. As for me, I'll see if I can stir things up a bit to cover your advance.
How many hit points do you have? One?
One hit point. Just one hit point. Oh, that's interesting. Gain an assortment of... Oh, that could be helpful.
I was trying to figure out.
I caught a big one.
I've never done that one. No, nice.
That'll do.
That will do, yeah. That'll be good coming up on your next death.
Yeah. Oh, look. And we ended up back at Charon's shop.
Oh, and you made it all the way. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? That's
You're
pretty
not going to make
incredible.
it far.
No. But, you know.
But it's okay.
Thank
That's
you,
okay.
mate.
I'll grab
Key
these
to a
two.
weapon.
And,
Beyond the present chamber lies the outermost perimeter of Tartarus, promising terrifying dangers far beyond the Underworld Princess reckoning.
And I can reckon quite a bit.
I love the interaction with the narrator.
yes. I love that he can hear the narrator. It's
I know.
really
Well,
fantastic.
this is awkward.
Halt, Zagreus. Not one step further.
Her voice acting is
Haven't we had more than
excellent.
enough of
Yes.
each other by now? Besides, don't you have someplace else to be?
Your father sent me. All in all, I'd rather be on your bad side than his. Now you can turn back like a good little man, or I can send you home the painful way. What'll it be?
I'll have to go with the painful way.
A man after my own heart.
Go for it. You can do it.
Oh my gosh, no way. Where's... Oh boy. And there we go.
There we go.
But hey, I made it to the boss level.
There you go.
Cheers for that, Meg.
And the things he says coming out of the pool are contextual too, which I think is also just really nice touch. You know, it's,
Yes, it is. It's always based on what or who killed him.
Oh, wow, so Megara herself got you last time. That must have been intense. She's fast and strong and beautiful. And, anyway, I hope the fates are nicer to you next time.
Yeah, I hope so too. Someone's at the desk next to the throne. Who's that sniveling shade to your immediate left there, Father? Already found someone new to do the busy work. And here I thought I was utterly indispensable.
your immediate left.
That shade boy is my newly designated contractor. One whose responsibility is to work on this house. Though who shall pay for everything my subjects here demand, I do not know.
You're trying to guilt me into funding the exorbitant furnishings you desire.
Perhaps once we are finished with repairs for all the carnage you have sown throughout my realm, then we might finally have time for all the needed renovations that have piled up.
Nice.
This relationship is so great.
I know.
How you holding up, boy? Eating well lately? All three mouths full and happy?
Every time I die,
Each
I have to
terrifying
pet
maw
Cerberus.
of the
Yes,
infernal
it's very
watchdog
important.
Cerberus responds affirmatively, one after the next, as if to
Shield,
reassure
yes, you
the
can.
undoubting prince.
Here you go.
If I don't pet your other heads, don't bite my arm off. Deal?
It's a great animation too. I mean, they spent some time on that.
Yes, they did. So let's see. Yeah, does he have?
I've known great men throughout my life, and I can always tell when someone's better than their circumstances. Fight like I'd fight out there.
I'll give them
Just
Hennessy once
not
to
with your
Achilles.
heel.
Though the shades who stand against me first arrived in Tartarus because of you.
Yeah, so
He actually
there's-
gives you something later on, which I think is the fact that they hold back on it with him is very interesting.
Yeah,
I really like how they did it because it
You're referring
keeps
to
you
the-
wanting to play.
You're referring to
Codex.
the codex, right? Yeah. The
Yep.
monster log. This is a fun little
What
side
once
note.
was a small lounging area within the House of Hades now is sealed off, in utter shambles, since the multi-headed Cerberus tore the space apart, mourning the missing prince.
Yeah, so the dog got very upset when he left the first time and completely went hog wild on the lounge area.
Cerberus destroyed the lounge again.
I wonder if there's a way to fix it.
So
Sort of
yes.
special offer for me, my good shade.
So this is another system that they have in the game, which, by and large, I haven't played too much with it, but a lot of this, it identifies them as being cosmetic changes. So I'm wondering how much of an actual systematic impact it has on the game. I haven't done too much of them yet, so I just don't know. I don't know if you've bought too many of the cosmetic ones, Scott.
No, I've not bought any of the cosmetics, but I have used the work orders, and
Right.
it does add to the game. However, what I really liked here, at first I thought, well, this is a waste. Why would I spend any gems on something that is cosmetic?
Right.
The game's beautiful as it is. Who cares? Right? And I'm not a player I'm a type of player, if I have a choice between something that's useful and something that's just simply cosmetic, I'll always choose useful.
Yep.
But it took me a moment to realize what they were doing here, and I think this is an interesting thing, interesting choice design-wise. Again, a challenge that roguelikes have is they get pretty mundane. That's a better word for it. I was going to say boring, but they get pretty mundane if you continue to play them, especially for the lower levels while you're trying to reach up to the higher levels. And you're always collecting gems one way or another in those lower levels.
Right.
This gives you another aspect to the gameplay, or another reason to continue on by just decorating your hub, decorating the house that you live in, right? And it's just something fun to do, because there will be a point that the player will max out on the weapons that they have. They'll get all the keys, right? But still need to progress further into the game. They'll get pretty far along on the, I can't remember what they are, the purple tiers.
Right.
And so this gives them a reason to keep going. Go ahead.
And we haven't unlocked this yet, but there is, once we get the lounge repaired, there is actually a way, there's a little shop in there, which allows you to take the permanent items and you can use them to pay for, to get to the next level up of an item. So you can spend a certain number of gems to get a key, and a certain number of keys to get a purple gem, and a certain number of purple gems to get another thing. And so you can actually transfer your various things into other kinds of things depending on what you need and what you've already used up. But I do suspect that some of this cosmetic stuff might also be connected narratively to some kind of degree.
Ooh, I bet.
It's probably light. It's probably just a different character makes a comment about this or that or the other thing. But with how this game has been built so far, I would suspect there's probably at least a little bit of something that happens. But yeah.
Or at least further dive into the lore. Right, the lore is deep in this game. I mean, it is Greek mythology. There's many different eras, there are many different versions of stories depending on what era you're reading from. And there's lots and lots of different interpretations, and it's just very deep. There's so much of it, and I bet it ties into that. And this game really makes a lot of use of the lore, so I bet it taps into that too.
And so you'll see this bit. They actually give you one of these work orders for free as your first one, which I think is really great on their part too. And this is continuing to build up your game here. But again, I want to point out the thing that they're doing on the right side, because they are using iconography. So they got the little like hourglass thing, and they've got the heart symbol. And when those things show up, they are adding blocks on the side that do explain to you what it's doing. So you have grand opening deal, that's what that thing is meaning to you. It's offering it free of charge. The life symbol is just referencing your total life. So it's saying that this will unlock some room that you can get to eventually that will restore life, and it'll be like a rest chamber where you can rejuvenate and you don't have to fight enemies. And I've run into that room before, and it is nice, just a little side chamber thing. But I with as light as they have been on teaching the player how to play the game, I'm really grateful that they've been doing this thing where they push stuff to the side. And they use that same system consistently through all of the different menus, which I think is a good call.
It takes a second to learn, but once you realize it, it's good.
Idea. What's that there? Something from the Fates?
Yeah, so there continue to be more work orders and things you can unlock as well.
And come on, shades with hard hats. I mean, that's just...
I know, it's great. It's a great... I love it.
I live in the lounge, the shade that's the cook. It's like chopping up. Yes, and he has the big cook's hat.
Darkness guide you, child. You have outgrown this house. Of that I am now certain. Should you return again here, I shall keep you safe.
I won't forget you, Nix, I swear it.
All right, and now that I know to look for these things...
Hey, I know you.
Cause of death, drowning.
And I haven't progressed that far in the game, but I want to know if that pomegranate garden where Persephone would spend most of her time is unlockable. I don't know if it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I did actually run into Sisyphus, though.
Yes, I did too. That's fantastic.
My wife and I frequently think of Sisyphus when we think about raising our children. It's a little bit of a Sisyphusian process. Okay, we can unlock Death Defiance.
There we go. And then bam!
Drastically increases the price for the next one.
I remember seeing that for the first time. I was like, oh no, what did I do? 500, oh no.
Chronic Vitality is interesting because it gives you a couple, like one health point per room. And you can, at least I was able to unlock it up to 3 health points per room. And it doesn't seem like it would be that much, but it can make a difference over time. It does. Greater Reflex is also, like, that's my second one I would want to go for, because double dashing is super useful, especially in the battle with Meg.
Felt that, I think.
Yep. Oh, and now my favorite character.
I should go.
It might actually require me to unlock. Okay, let's go ahead and unlock this.
There we go. Aegis, Shield of Chaos. Lend me your power.
Aegis.
Go on and talk me with that if you want.
Favorite character.
Nice place you got here, boyo. Name's Skelly, how's it going? But enough with the small talk already. I'm here to do a job. So let me have it. Give me everything you got.
I don't remember having you on payroll, mate. Who's your supervisor?
Oh, I'm not about to wrap my sources, pal. Just try and beat it out of me.
And look at his sub name.
Yep, training dummy.
If you insist.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, the purpose of this guy is to practice.
So
pick up a
smart.
weapon and practice.
Love it.
I know the voice acting is so out of place here.
But it works.
Awesome.
It's so good.
I got you pretty good.
Also,
It's like they had an interview for the voice actor, and he came in talking like that. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they were like, "You know what? You just keep doing you. We'll wait around."
So I love the shield so much better than the sword. You got your standard hit thing. You still have your dash. You still have your thing, but then you can throw the shield, and you can do a charge up.
What I did, it took me a while to learn is it has a multiplier. When you throw the shield, it'll hit multiple people.
Yep, it'll bounce around. There's actually upgrades you can get to make it bounce around more too, which is great.
All right, how far did you get?
That was a good question. Well, I made it to the...
I won't back down.
Yeah, so that would be 10, right?
Isn't that 15? No, it's not 15. Yeah, it is 15.
15? Okay.
Yep. So what I like about this is the little viewpoint thing. There are, as you go through to different stages of the game, there are more of these, actually. So when you get to the next world, there is another perspective point, so you can get a look at it. So this is like the gates of Tartarus, and then the next one, I can't remember what it's called, but you can actually see the same sorts of perspective things as you go through the next levels, which I think is, again, just another nice artistic touch.
Right.
Oh, and also this is actually really good. So what you'll see is I point myself here. I'm pretty much pointing like straight up on the controller. That hits him. If I go over here, that hits him. If I go here, that hits him. It is really intelligent about how it bounces that shield. That shield is bouncing with an intention to hit your target. So I'm assuming it has to calculate it off of the ricochet. Like when it hits the ricochet, it figures out what the nearest enemy is. But you don't have to be super accurate with it for it to hit.
Which is nice about this weapon.
Yeah. Like I'd have to be pointing away from him. Even then, it pretty much is always going to land a hit. Like, yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know.
So
if
each weapon that you unlock, it gives you a different, depending on how you like to play these kind of games, it gives you a different style of how to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the only one I've played with besides the sword. I think a bow.
I like the spear.
One. You like the spear?
I like the spear.
I should try the spear. Have you tried the bow?
Yes, and I was very surprised how I don't like it. Usually, I'm a ranged player, right? I will try to keep my distance and shoot them from afar, but that bow is not easy to use.
Interesting. I'll have to try it one time just to kind of like...
I think it's because you can't... You always must charge it. You can't just tap and go.
I see.
But there is a power-up that really helps with that bow, and that is, I don't know if you've gotten it, it will apply to any weapon, of holding down your button and it just auto-fires. And that makes the bow cool. But you have to plan to get that power-up from a very specific person.
So this is one more system that we'll talk about here. I think it can get... I think the fact that they don't introduce everything to you all at once is really good, because there's actually a lot of different interlocking systems that are being done here, and this is yet another one. And so what is here is you can actually find nectar, and nectar is something that you can gift to the characters in the game, and they will give you in response a what are they called? Keepsakes. And keepsakes, you can bring one with you on each of your runs, and they will give you a variety of different abilities. So it's been actually really neat. I've only unlocked, I think, 2 so far.
I've only done 3. Yeah, and it's a fun collectible, because not only does it give you a very good advantage on your next runs, right? And I'm sure the further you go into the game, the more powerful your keepsakes are. But also, it's a fun story element too. And the more you talk to people, no, we haven't gotten into it. The more you talk to people and the more you gift, you get like favor from those people.
Right.
And you get like a little heart symbols with them, the more they like you, which is further incentive on playing the game.
Yeah, I don't have the codex, so I can't look at that yet.
Yeah, you think, yeah.
But yeah, so I think we're probably gonna finish up here on this. Yeah,
It's a really fun game. It's a fantastic game.
it's a really fun game.
Everything they've done, they've crafted very well. I would have loved to have seen their prototype sessions and their design sessions, just to talk about, like I said before, the different challenges that they had to make a roguelike challenging and fun, and something that oh, look at the line of them.
Yeah.
I never saw that. Oh, and they moved forward.
Next.
To make roguelikes challenging, fun, and something that you want to play again and again.
This is really fun. This is interaction. Look at his pose. He's just sitting there like, whatever.
I've heard enough. Denied.
Yeah, and it's I think it's interesting too, to your point about the playtesting. I think this game was in early access for close to 2 years.
Raul in the chat mentioned something about that, that he had early access to it. It was 2 years, really. That's a long time.
Yeah, I think what was tipping me off to that was when I was plugging Hades as being connected with our YouTube video, it suggested Hades 2018, and I was like, 2018? That can't be the right thing.
I know.
But
I did the same thing.
I think actually it's been that's because that's when it went to early access.
Yes.
I'm sure people were starting to do Let's Plays and things like that with Hades at that point. So, yeah, it's clearly a lot of really fantastic playtesting QA work went into making this game the way it is, and it's responsive, it's fast, it's definitely like a controller, like play with a controller, highly recommended. The art, I mean, the art and the voice work in all of Supergiant Games are just stellar. So yeah, it's really not a surprise, but even then, it's like, man, this is just looks really good. It looks really fantastic. Oh, there's a locked door there. That's a locked door.
Oh, go ahead and try and open it.
There's another one here.
Don't think I'm welcome in there.
Huh. And I have not opened that up.
Father's chambers, always locked.
Oh, interesting. Maybe just like the little detail of like
I'm
his
surprised
feet
Hades didn't yell
fire.
at you.
Bro, did he not? Did he for you?
He usually does. It's like, stay out of there, boy.
I mean, even just like he leaves trail like little fire on his footprints. Like, it's such a nice little like visual tidbit. Yeah, this is a world that feels alive and bright and colorful and interesting and full of interesting characters. Claim denied. Yeah, this is a really neat game, and I'm super glad it exists. I'm super glad I finally got the opportunity to play it. So, very, very cool. Oh no, Supergiant did not do Hollow Knight. No, that was oh, crap. I'm forgetting.
Oh yeah, Shield's question: whose chair is that? Go try and sit in one of the chairs. I don't know if there's like a reason for this. Maybe later on in the game, but you can interact with all the chairs. But it tells you nope, I can't sit down.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's later on you can. Your bed does the same thing, but later on you can use your bed for like a dreamlike sequence.
What?
What? But I'm wondering if the same thing was with the chairs. It's very interesting. I have no idea why they programmed in the use of chairs or interaction with chairs if you can't ever sit in them.
It is funny though. But hey, you know what? Don't worry about the chairs. You can pet the dog.
That's right. Who cares?
Who cares about the chairs? Yeah. All right. Well, I think with that, we can switch back out to our outro. Maybe.
I'll definitely be playing more of this game.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to play more as well. Yeah, so we're getting ready to wrap up here. It was really fun to share Hades with all of you. Thank you all for everybody who suggested the great games. There were a lot of games suggested, which was great. It was a really good problem to have. We'll be gearing up. We're always welcome for game suggestions or theme suggestions as well. Please feel free to hit me up with a DM or just post and say, hey, why don't we do this? And we do this for you all. So this is whatever you all want to make of it, whatever you want to vote for. Like, absolutely. We do have certain limitations for content and certain things. But yeah, so we really excited. Had a lot of good interactions on the vote today. Now, Wes really would like for me to do what I'm going to do next, which is this is our last event of January before our last event of January. Drum roll. You all know what this is. We're going to talk about Global Game Jam. Let's see if I can bring up my window here. Ta-da! There it is. Yeah, so Global Game Jam is something that COGG has been doing for a long time, or at least, partnering with and participating in for a long time. Global Game Jam is a literally global organization which runs a 2-day, 48-hour game jam that happens all over the world. Now, normally how this works is each time zone will start at a specific time on the last Friday in January, and then you'll get the theme reveal, and then everybody kind of gets to work through and complete it all the way around. This year is a little bit different for reasons that should be relatively obvious. And we're doing Global Game Jam. Global Game Jam is happening. We are normally we would host it at the Idea Foundry. That is not going to happen this year. It's going to be all remote. But we are going to be utilizing our Discord server for the whole Game Jam. If any of you participated in the GDEX Game Jam this past year, we are actually getting Tom, who's a programmer at Multivarious. He is the one who wrote the Jamio bot, which was the driving force behind the GDEX Game Jam. He's got a whole bunch of new ideas and ways that he can revamp it and make it portable. So we're actually going to bring in Jamio to create the servers, the channels and things that we need in order to run the Game Jam in our Discord. So that's going to be really excited. It could be interesting, and who knows what will go right and what will go wrong. It's always fun when you try new technological things. But we are still going to host it. We're going to start on Friday, I believe the 29th. Yes, Friday the 29th. It's free this year. Normally we would ask for a reasonably small fee for the purpose of funding for the space, funding for food, etc., that kind of a thing. This year, because we don't have to pay for space and we're not providing food for anybody, it's going to be free admission. So feel free to just jump on board, sign up. We would love to have anybody who wants to be aboard. Game Jam, this one specifically, is open to anyone who has any level of interest or expertise in game jams or in game development, period. So if you are brand new to game development and you'd like to try something for the first time, making a game, this is a really great opportunity. And for those of you who are have your own projects, or you're on a team and you want just a break and to do something new, do some ideation, try out an idea, this is a really great venue for you to do that. So we'll be gearing up for that. You'll hear lots more from us in the next 2 weeks leading up to that. It is a absolute blast. I love Global Game Jam. I've loved working with Wes and Scott the last couple of years doing this. I know, Scott, you've done it many more times than I have. But yeah, so we're really looking forward to that. And if you need any more info about that, we'll have links and things posted for that in our announcements channel. And I think Wes has already done that, and we'll have more coming up. But please jump on board for that. Set aside some time for it. It'll be different, but it should still be awesome. And we're really excited to see the kinds of games that everybody's going to come up with. So yeah, anything from you, Scott, on Global Game Jam?
Yeah, so if you have any questions or anything like that, reach out to us on Discord. One of us will jump to answer a question, especially for if you've never done anything like this before. everyone always has questions of like, well, what about this? How do we do this? Or, am I good enough is another question that we get. And the answer to that is, it's going scooting down here. The answer to that is always a yes, please join us no matter how you feel. There's always a thank you. There's always there's always an initial feeling, especially if you've never done something like this. There's always an initial feeling of like, I don't know if I can bring enough to the table to be part of a team. And the answer is always yes, no matter what your level of skill is. And we're a very fun, easy group to get along with. And Global Game Jam is not a competition. It is more of an experience. There's no losing. There's always winning. I know that sounds really cheesy and like everybody gets a trophy kind of thing, but honestly, it's all about the experience. It's about making new friends. It's about trying to take your craft or your interest or your passions and then producing something out of it. It's very tiring, but it's always very, very rewarding. I get something out of it every single time we do it. It's just a fantastic experience, and I suggest everyone do it. We help everyone along the way. Our group is fantastic. All of you excel tremendously at seeing when other people need help or dropping what you're doing in order to help someone else. So there should be no fears or anything like that. It's a great time. It's a great way to, even if you're not a game developer from your day job, it's a great way to learn how to pick out good ideas and weed out bad ideas very quickly because you have a tight timeline to go on. And I just suggest everyone do it. It's a great time. Everyone's going to have a great time with it.
Absolutely.
But you got to get your food this year. Food's on you.
Yep. No piles and piles of Caleb's cornbread this time.
Yeah, no cornbread and chili, no spaghetti, no.
Yes.
But it's going to be a great time. I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to a couple, few people have pointed out some negative things about Global Game Jam this year being a not physical location, but more of a remote location. But I think there's some strengths in that we can take away and work with. One, there's less pressure being away from any loved ones that you might have to go away from. Like, I know it's always a stretch for people with kids to spend a weekend without them or leave your spouse with those kids, right? And it's very stressful. And you don't have to worry about that this time. You can get good rest anytime you want. Mm-hmm. And that's really important. We encourage that everyone gets good rest with Global Game Jam. So I think there's some good strengths that we can take away from this that is very positive. But I'll step off my soapbox.
No,
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's super cool. All right, well, that's everything that we have for today. Thank you so much again for joining us for this COGG Let's Play live stream on Hades, a really fun, neat, fresh aesthetic take on the roguelike genre. And also, thank you to those who made Rogue, the progenitor of all of these games that we have come to know and love. So thank you all again, and we will catch you next time. And sign up for Global Game Jam. See you later, everyone. Bye.
See you later, everyone. Thanks.